Welcome to the Fit Drivers Podcast, sponsored by 10th Street, connecting carriers and drivers to make life easier, pre and post-hire. From efficient and seamless recruiting to tools that keep drivers engaged and compliant and on the road. 10th Street helps you market, hire, retain, and grow. Learn more at 10thstreet.com.
Bob, thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to do this show with you.
Okay, welcome everybody to another Fit Drivers Podcast. Fit Drivers Podcast is sponsored by 10th Street, connecting carriers and drivers to make life easier, pre and post hire. 10th Street helps you market, hire, retain, and grow. Learn more by going to 10thstreet.com. Well, everybody, I'm really looking forward to my special guest I have on today, a newfound friend, Crystal May. So I think you're going to find this podcast, as all our podcasts on Fit Drivers, designed to bring you driver health information, especially as it pertains to solutions and ways that our drivers, we can keep them healthy and help them protect their livelihoods, and of course at the end of the day get them home safe to see their family. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my friend Crystal May. She's a dental consultant with over 20 years experience dedicated to improving patient care and streamlining dental practice operations. She's internationally known as a speaker, educator, and innovator. Crystal specializes in oral cancer, passionate about patient health, now driver health. She's active advocate for early oral cancer detection using advanced technologies, empowering patients to take control of their oral well-being. Crystal, welcome. Thanks, my friend, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Crystal, I'm going to start off. Why don't you tell our listeners about your company and what your company does?
Absolutely. So I am the business development division for the dental channel at Viome. And Viome is a consumer-facing company that maybe you've heard of. We're a molecular testing company. So we focus on all things microbiome. So we're most well known for our analysis of blood, stool, and saliva. So we actually can look inside and see what's going on in the gut, in the oral microbiome, and really start to help patients just kind of achieve the goals that they're looking for. But my division was just started about a year and a half ago, where we actually determined that we were looking at the oral microbiome and we were helping patients find better nutrition and find ways to just improve other symptoms. But we could actually detect the biomarkers for oral and throat cancer. And when we, using our amazing technology and state of the art, we use AI, we've analyzed over 1 million saliva samples to get this kind of information. But with a single saliva sample, we can actually look at the patient's entire oral microbiome. So everything that's going on at a molecular level, and we can show signs and symptoms of oral and throat cancer. We can identify periodontal disease and other gum disease issues. We can identify patients at high risk for cavities and even the causes of bad breath. So really, our company started direct to consumer, and then we realized we had so much more to give. We could see so much more detail that we developed a professional line, which is the channel that I'm responsible for. And this is where we teach dentists how to use this type of salivary diagnostics, analyze patients' saliva to really understand root cause. And if you listen to our founder, we're on a mission to just really help patients realize, or consumers realize, that disease is optional. Many of the diseases we think that are genetic or just unavoidable, we're just going to age a certain way. Our founders and our technologists believe that if we understood all of the things going on in our body better, we could actually prevent many of these things. So that's what we're all about, is health and wellness, longevity, and helping patients achieve the best quality life we can.
Well, I tell you, when you and I first met through our friends Teledentist, I was intrigued because what I always try to do is relate to the driver, industry as far as prevention. We all know the drivers and trucking companies alike spend a lot of time in prevention, taking care of their equipment, because that's how they make their living. And one of the things that I've been trying to work on for years is take that same analogy and bring it to the personal health well-being, right? And so when you and I first started talking, and then you really presented me with some alarming statistics that I think is very important, and we need to get out here to our driver population, because a lot of these issues that you pointed out really, mirror, unfortunately, with the driver population. Like the one about tobacco users face, am I saying this right? A staggering 1,000 higher risk of oral cancer compared to those who don't use tobacco. Is that right? Did I say that right?
That's exactly right. 1,000% increased risk for
Wow.
oral and throat cancer for tobacco use.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So let's talk about some of these other statistics that you brought and presented to me so that we can talk to the audience about these, and of course, hopefully, HR directors and benefits, and more importantly, drivers themselves will look at this, and then we can talk at the end about a solution, a way that they can take action, hopefully, if they choose to look at some prevention. As we say, you don't want to wait till your engine light comes on before you got to check the oil, right? You want to get in front of it. So let's talk about, and we know that the male population is higher in the trucking industry, even though my good friends at Women in Trucking are doing a hard work and good job of changing that, but it is what it is today. So let's talk about the men that are twice likely to develop cancer.
Absolutely. So there's a number of risk factors for oral and throat cancer, and we kind of lasered in on 7 of them. So we were trying to just make a simple screening solution so we could quickly identify patients at high risk. And for the trucker industry, they're going to check 5 of the 7 boxes just by a kind of occupation, just the demographic of your driver. So males are twice as more likely to develop oral and throat cancer as females, and as you said, I mean, almost 90% of drivers are males. So we're just in that one bucket. We're going to have an increased risk in this, driver population. Over 50, about 85% of new oral and throat cancer cases are in patients who are over 50. So again, just the demographic of your drivers is going to be in this category. So tobacco use, as we mentioned, but one that really surprised me, and I've been in dentistry for 20 years. So I'm not that I know everything, but I thought that I knew a lot about this topic. I did not realize that alcohol consumption had such a significant impact on your risk. It's almost 500%. So if you are male, over 50, consuming tobacco and drink alcohol on a regular basis, your risk of having oral and throat cancer is so much higher than just the average population. And so I think it's just really important for your audience and for drivers to realize that this doesn't have to be, I mean, even if you've smoked years and years ago and have stopped smoking, that's great. That does decrease your chances significantly. But some of these other things, we can't change our age. We're not changing our gender in this case. So you're going to be at an increased risk just inherently. So definitely early detection is the key here. Um, One of the symptoms of oral and throat cancer, or some of the symptoms, are lesions. You see sores or bumps or spots, red or white patches, and they're not going away. They're persistent. You have difficulty swallowing, changes in your voice. If you feel any lumps or bumps or any tenderness in the neck or throat area, those can be signs. But by the time you have those types of signs or symptoms, the disease is progressing. It's actually, formed a lesion, right? But how many other cancers in the whole body do we wait until we can see them to diagnose, right? I mean, we don't wait till we can see any other kind of cancer. I mean, even skin cancer, they do scans and things to check. And that's probably the closest as far as visual goes. So the problem with oral cancer isn't, I mean, it's cancer. It's one of the top 6 leading causes of cancer deaths in our category, but it's that we're not detecting it early enough. So first, I would just say, if you have any of those signs or symptoms I just mentioned, it's urgent. I would definitely recommend we talk about getting this, looked at as quickly as possible. April is Oral Cancer Awareness Month. And so I think this is such a great time to bring some additional awareness to your audience about this. Again, most other types of cancers we're talking about, we're screening for, we're preventative in nature, but oral cancer, and specifically throat cancer, which your dentist can't see in your throat. So even if you're seeing a dentist regularly, who's going to find and look for those throat lesions, right? So the key here is early detection. And if anyone listening has ever had a person in their life affected by oral or throat cancer, or maybe even just seen it on the news or saw something in an article, you know that treatment can be incredibly invasive. And so the earlier we can detect it, not only do we double the survival rate. So we can take a patient from a 40% survival rate to an 80+% survival rate. So double the chances of survival, but we really reduce the complexity of treatment. So instead of having to have major surgeries and all of these, really invasive things done, we might be able to do something much, much simpler with a simple treatment that's not going to affect the quality of your life. So I just would encourage everyone who's maybe any of these risk factors or just preventatively wants to know, hey, where am I at today? Where's my baseline? To really consider some more advanced early detection so we can get ahead of it before it's a problem.
Back up a second, Crystal, if I may, because you mentioned about certain signs, right? Like lesions or what. So, so many times, of course, I think a lot of people out there are aware of the famous canker sores, right? That you get in your mouth from time to time, maybe too much acid or whatever's going on in your body. So sometimes those, what you may think is a canker sore, may possibly be more than that.
Absolutely. So if any lesion, canker sore, even if you had a trauma, like you burnt the inside of your mouth or you bit somewhere, if it's not healing within 2 to 4 weeks, it's worth having looked at. So definitely, anything in our mouth should be healing within 2 to 4 weeks. So if it's persistent for more than 4 weeks, that's when we raise our hand and say, something's going on. This should have been healing by now. Our mouth is one of the fastest healing tissue spaces in the body. And then you've maybe all experienced that, you've had something done or cut your cheek and it's like, it's healing almost instantly. If it's not healing quickly, there's probably a reason. There's a problem.
I remember your friend Leah from Teledentist. When I had her on, she talked about it. I didn't know this. I can't remember the number. It was so crazy. The bacteria that are in your mouth on a daily basis are like just crazy, insane numbers.
Hundreds of millions and millions, and it's an ecosystem. So there's good bacteria, and I just call them bugs. There's good bugs and there's bad bugs, and they have their purpose. They are there for a reason. And sometimes the bad bugs that we might think of as bad bugs are actually keeping worse bugs out. So it's all about this dance. It's about this oral microbiome balance, and we call it an ecosystem. And if that ecosystem gets out of whack, and maybe you relate more to it from a gut perspective because we think about gut health differently. We kind of think about it in balance. Well, the mouth is exactly the same way. And guess what? Everything inside the mouth ends up in the gut. We're swallowing our saliva and this, microbiome all of the time. So I think that there's a lot to be said about just understanding the balance of this incredible ecosystem. And one kind of fun fact about Viome, just uniquely, is most microbiome tests, anything that looks at your saliva, is looking at your DNA. So your DNA is the presence of these particular bugs. So it'll say you have this bug, and this bug. And we know if they're good or bad, but we don't know how they're behaving. We only know if they're present. So one of the super unique things about our technology is we are using RNA technology. So we're not looking just for the presence of the pathogen or bacteria or bug, but we're looking for its behavior. Is it doing good things or bad things? Is it causing harm or is it causing good? And why that matters is, I like this analogy. A criminal is not a criminal until they commit a crime. So we can have bacteria in our mouth that look like a criminal. They come from that, persona. You look at them and they're in a criminal category. But until they actually commit a crime, they might actually be doing their job. So that's what Viome does so uniquely, is we can actually identify what all of these bacteria and microbes are doing, how they're interacting together, so that if we do have an actual criminal who's committing a crime, we can go in and target those specific things to help regulate the oral microbiome.
Got it. Got it. Very interesting because, and once again, why I was really interested, intrigued in this, because my experience in driver health for the last 25 years, whatever, working with drivers, and unfortunately, for me, the difference is between you and I and the driver is that we have accessibility, right? We wake up today and we think something's wrong, we can run down and get it taken care of. Drivers don't have that luxury. They're on the road, and the schedule doesn't permit it, and they go, and a lot of times not paying attention. And I know that talked about this before, just and you can probably give some more information on it if you care to, but dental, it can be very, very dangerous, right? Going untreated. Bad tooth gets obsessed and so forth, and it's dangerous. It could be death, right? Threatening.
It really, really can. So, I mean, accessibility is obviously a huge problem, like you said, with your drivers. Even if you have a toothache or have a problem that's alarming, you may not have access to care at that moment. And then having that routine appointment where you're seeing that dentist every 6 months and have that consistency in care, I think is obviously a concern. It's a problem for your drivers. I'm certain of it. In fact, the statistics say that only between 40 and 50% of drivers see a dentist on an annual basis. So that means over half of drivers are not getting that routine evaluation. So it's like anything. If you catch it when it's small, it's not really a problem. We can usually resolve it with minimal treatment and minimal things. But as years go by and it gets left untreated, it just compounds and it becomes a bigger and bigger problem. So periodontal disease is one of the up and coming, if you will, epidemics in our country. As far as the link to overall health, cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, sudden death, I mean, things that are the big ticket things here, the things that are life ending, not even just life changing, but diabetes. But maybe the one that I think is so surprising is the link to dementia and Alzheimer's. Oral health has been directly linked. These particular bad pathogens that we're talking about and their bad behavior, they're finding that in the brain. They're finding that bacteria is actually getting into our cardiovascular system and into our brain. So it's so much more than bleeding gums. It's so much more than just a stubborn little toothache or an area that is bothersome. But a lot of people think if it doesn't hurt, it's not a problem. So periodontal disease doesn't hurt, by the way. It doesn't hurt. You might notice bleeding gums. Like I said, you might see some symptoms. You might even start to see some bone loss and some gum loss and some symptoms you can visually see. But by the time you see that, the disease is progressing pretty rapidly. So, I mean, I believe oral health is one of the foundations or pillars of overall health. And that if you can maintain oral health, and you can do that not only by your home care, right? Making sure that you're doing the work while you're on the road, that you have a hygiene pack, that you're doing the brushing and flossing, the rinses and things, but getting evaluated by a dentist on a regular basis. Again, you use the analogy of the truck. There are things that you need mechanics and specialists and people to look at that are beyond what you can do for your own vehicle and your own truck maintenance. Your mouth is no different. There's the maintenance you can do yourself that is very important, and it's the day-to-day stuff. It's the stuff that really keeps it running. But you do need to consider what that dentist, that hygienist, and what that evaluation may be able to do for that big picture overall health. So, I mean, I'm incredibly passionate about oral health, and obviously oral cancer is the big one because it's cancer. But in the big, like the way we look at it in our industry is gum disease is actually impacting more lives than almost any other attribute that dentistry has. Like gum disease affects the entire body.
Wow. Well, yeah, and I appreciate and applaud you for your passion for this. I bet you're a real hit at the family dinners, right? When people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but so let's talk about, okay, tell me about a solution that we can help our drivers with out there, Crystal, and how you're teamed up with teledentists and how we can give these folks the opportunity to take action and the convenience of being on the road, right? And how you can help them do some early detection and just prevention. Just take a peek under their own personal hood. In this case, take a peek in their mouth and see what's going on, and make sure everything's good to go. So tell us
Absolutely.
how we can help.
Absolutely. Well, so excited to have a partner in this, the teledentist. So they're a nationwide group of teledentists. So you don't have to be physically seen in a brick and mortar location. You don't have to take time off to get there. And it's a really simple process. So for a patient who is concerned about potential oral or throat cancer, is concerned about periodontal disease or risk of gum disease or these other things, you don't have to guess anymore. With the test that we're doing with a single saliva sample, we're analyzing that entire oral microbiome. We're making it incredibly easy to read and understand, and we're telling you exactly what current state is. So it's, again, even if you don't have symptoms, this gives you a baseline. This tells you where you are today. And for patients who have those high risk factors, I mean, if you check 2, 3, or 4 of those high risk boxes, this might even be something you consider doing on an annual basis. Like you would just do annual maintenance. We're going to recheck to make sure everything's in order. So this saliva test is fabulous because you'd meet with one of the dentists at the teledentist group. They'll evaluate you. They'll make sure you're a good candidate. They'll confirm this is the right testing for you. And then they will actually order the test for you because it does have to be ordered through a dentist. You cannot go to Viome's website and order this directly. So you have to go through a healthcare provider. But using these teledentists, we're able to do it without you having to, take much time out of your schedule. Then we will ship the collection kit directly to the location of your choice. So presumably your home. We'll send you the collection kit. All you do is spit in a tube, seal up the lid, and drop it back in a prepaid envelope, and it comes to our lab. Our lab will analyze your saliva for all of these things we've been talking about, and then we'll share those results back with you and your dentist, and they'll meet with you a second time to actually review those results with you, tell you what we found, give you other suggestions for improvement, or let you know if you do in fact need to see a dentist in person, and they'll give you this whole path of treatment there. So I think we've made it about as easy and streamlined as absolutely possible. And in this partnership with this group, we are able to give the first 100 drivers 5% off of their tests themselves. So they'll be able to save 5% off for being the first 100 drivers from your audience. And then the teledentists are extended to 10% off on their consultation fee. So in light of Oral Cancer Awareness Month and our desire to just make everyone aware that not only is this disease a big deal, but there's a simple testing solution for the first time available.
So, the drivers then that want to act on this, we can, because of their nature of their job, some of them obviously do get home weekly, every 2 weeks, monthly. But then maybe in a case where usually the delivery of this test, they may want to send it, they know they're going to be at a terminal. Is that a possibility? I mean, what's it usually take to get them this test? Is it gone out like FedEx or second day, or is it gone regular mail? How soon does the test get delivered?
So for most places in the country, it's getting there within 3 to 4 days. So obviously it depends on location and all the things associated with the mail delivery. But if you were going to be in a designated location for enough time, or you knew in advance you were going to be somewhere, we can ship it to any address they choose. It does not have to be their home address. And because the teledentists are licensed in all states, that's irrelevant as well. So we can really meet them wherever they are, if you will, and ship it wherever they want. And honestly, you could do this anywhere. You fill your mouth with saliva and spit in a cup and twist on the lid. So there is nothing complicated or complex about the collection itself. And then it can be dropped in any mailbox for return delivery.
So they can, like I said, the convenience of this is really being able to do it anywhere, anytime. So how do the drivers then take action? There's we're going to create a link, I guess you said, I will, whatever, a landing page where they can go to, click on it, get information, or how to contact teledentist. Is that correct? Is that the next step?
That's right. They'll be able to learn about it. We've got a description of the test, so they'll know exactly what is included and what it looks like, and then they can schedule their first consult right there.
Okay. Well, I'll reach out to Leah and get that information, I guess, what they have, so we can make that happen. And I can also post it for the drivers on my media posts for them on how to take action on it. Great.
Perfect.
Okay, Crystal. Well, I can't thank you enough. You're my new hero. So this is good stuff. Thank you so much. And, I want to do a follow-up as we get some drivers to participate. And we'll do some follow-up and see how it goes. And so I really, really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much.
I really enjoy it. Thanks for having me, Bob. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Okay, all right, bye.
Welcome to the Fit Drivers Podcast, sponsored by 10th Street, connecting carriers and drivers to make life easier, pre and post-hire. From efficient and seamless recruiting to tools that keep drivers engaged and compliant and on the road. 10th Street helps you market, hire, retain, and grow. Learn more at 10thstreet.com.